What's up, everyone? George Balekji here with Foxborough Rush. But hey, check out the latest episode of Boston Has Entered the Chat. Casey Hudson and myself break down the Trent Frederick trade. He's off to Edmonton. Bruins are getting draft picks in return. What does this mean for their path moving forward? We also go in on Saquon Barkley getting paid and how that's a huge win for all running backs. And as always, we have ringside review on this edition of the chat. Jason and Nathan break down the latest from Monday Night Raw. That's Boston Has Entered the Chat. Wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. New episodes every Monday through Friday. Now let's get to Rush. That's my music.
Yeah!
Oh, no. It's Travis Thomas's music. Foxborough Rush. George Balekji here with Double T, Travis Thomas. T,
bro.
This is what we're doing today, man. Ready? Look at me. Look at me.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
We're doing this.
Oh.
We're closing the window on the franchise tag.
I like it.
Literally, physically closing the window.
I like that.
Hey, it's come and gone. We're going to go in on who got tagged, who didn't, and guys like Sam Darnold not getting tagged, how that affects the Patriots in free agency and in the draft. Then Sean McGuire of Nesson.com stops by. Osa Odigizua agreed to an extension with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones did something right, but what that means for Milton Williams as he hits a free agent market, because luckily he did not get tagged. And then finally, we break down some reports coming out by the great guys at the Boston Herald, Andrew Callahan and Doug Kyde, but more of, Trav, you're going to love this, the power structure in New England, and when you rank everyone 1 through 5, where Elliott Wolf falls. And Trav, it's not 1, it's not 2, but find out if it's 3. All right, we got all that. Let's get into it. So the franchise tag window has come and gone.
Yep.
And guess what? The two guys who knew that were getting tagged, T. Higgins and Trey Smith, were the only players to get tagged. This is one of the lowest tag points in NFL history.
Yeah.
I'm saying franchise tag a lot. Essentially, I was surprised because of the high quality free agents that are out there. And the franchise tag was used as something where a player can't hit the open market. Teams keep them, they negotiate, and they agree to an extension. Well, we know that T. Higgins is likely getting the non-exclusive, which means if a player or if a team like the Patriots offers, Bengals don't match, you got to give up draft compensation.
Right.
Trey Smith, the guard for the Chiefs, also got the non-exclusive tag. This is bad news for the Patriots, T, because they need a number 1 receiver, and they desperately need offensive line help.
I know the two people we wanted at the same time, and you said this, great tease off the top, by the way, by you. But you also said two guys who the Patriots coveted in Smith and Higgins. We both anticipated, all of us anticipated, that they'd be tagged, and they are. Yeah. So you've already moved on to plan B anyways, the backup plan to the backup plan. My thing is this. You have all this money to spend, and I know we'll get into how they should allocate funds. But, George, you have all this money to spend. It's not a great free agent class. It is okay to say, you know what? We don't need to spend all this damn money this offseason.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, it's boring, and it's not really my style because I'm all spicy, but just get depth. Like if nothing else, last season proved how important depth is in this league.
Yeah.
So solidify some things on your roster, add some depth in key parts, offensive line, and then next offseason go cray-cray. But, I mean, all this trade for this guy, pay him, give him this, do that, franchise tag, be damned, and no, relax, okay? Just spend what you can, fortify what you can on your roster. Don't be cheap, but don't be crazy either. There's a nice balance. I'm a Libra, George. I believe in balance of the scales. This is not a great free agent class, so take it easy.
You believe in balance?
I do.
Dude, you're just 100 miles per hour every time.
I didn't say I am balanced. I said I believe in it.
You believe in balance. Yeah. Okay. I would just like that point you just made. Just because you got the money doesn't mean you need to spend it all.
Right.
But also know the spending can come in waves. We can see the Patriots have that initial rush when legal tampering opens, which has been reported they're going to do.
Yeah.
Swing big on a Ronnie Stanley. Overpay for a left tackle, which you have to do.
Fine.
Swing big on a Paul McCarry. Overpay for a right tackle, which you need to do.
Fine.
Swing big on a Milton Williams, an interior defender that is really good at blowing up the pocket and plays into Terrell Williams' defense.
No issues.
That's fine. That's what you need to do.
Yep.
But there are levels to this all. There's a reason there's post-June 1 cuts. There's that second wave of free agency. There's obviously after the draft. Then there are the later additions. Some players are cut. What opens this all up is that T. Higgins, and no one sees him leaving. And this is a like 2-avenue thing for what the Bengals are dealing with right now. This is the second year in a row T. Higgins has been tagged.
Yeah.
Last year, it did not include negotiations. He was tagged hard and fast, and that was it. Now it is, we're tagging him, and Duke Tobin, the head of personnel for the Bengals, is coming out and saying, we love T. Higgins. We want to keep him around. The Bengals know where they stand going into free agency by tagging him. They know who they need going into free agency as well. And they can put their eyes all in on a T. Higgins, who they negotiate. T has the same agents as Jamar Chase. They're willing to pay for T. Higgins, which will make him top 5 paid. And Duke Tobin, same person, has said, we're going to make Jamar Chase the highest non-quarterback paid player in NFL history. Look at Justin Jefferson's contract. $35 million a year. $88 million guaranteed at signing, $110 million total guaranteed. They're going to beat all those numbers. That's what they want to do. But they got to pay T. Higgins with Jamar Chase in mind. They're going to. No one expects him to leave. As for Trey Smith, that tag is big. It's the Chiefs keeping him. You know what Mahomes is going to do? Restructure. Give me the signing bonus. Let's create cap space. Let's rebuild this offensive line. The big news, underrated, are the Bears trading for Jonah Jackson, the guard, who also played center for the Rams. That's the Bears telling you, we don't think Trey Smith is going to hit the open market because Chicago has top 4 cap space in the NFL. That's what makes this difficult with the New England Patriots. Yeah. That's where this struggle comes in. And we'll get into it later with Sean McGuire. We've spoken about him and like what the draft prospect looks like with the Will Campbell.
Yep.
Will Campbell at 4, Trav, Will Campbell at 6, or Will Campbell at 7, that's Quentin Nelson. A top 7 draft pick spent on a guard who will be a really good guard for a long time. And that's what it looks like. If they can't get the guys that they want, I'm sorry. I'm not okay with a Dan Moore. I'm not okay with a Cam Robinson. It has to be Ronnie Stanley. You have this cap space. You have to spend it on them.
You better hope it's a Quentin Nelson because he had a damn good career. And although I get what you're saying, the draft position in which you're taking him is high. But that guy did have a great career. And if you're going to take Will Campbell 4, 6, 8 otherwise, then yeah, I mean, you certainly hope he has that type of career.
Yeah.
But we've been lockstep the whole time that dude's a guard. And by the way, I always defer to you and Sean McGuire and Keegan for when we start talking about offensive line anyways. And that's how I feel. But with that being said, although on one hand I'm saying don't go cray-cray and spend all the money on a weak free agency class, I am perfectly fine with you going cray-cray and giving out blank checks to all available offensive linemen. Ronnie Stanley being my favorite, but I'm cool with any of them.
Yeah.
If you get the whole offensive line free agent class here, I have no problem with it. Please, just for the love of all things holy, fix the offensive line. And in all seriousness, if they make the kind of investment that you're saying, George, and they're going out getting left tackle, right tackle, they may not go Will Campbell. We have to be prepared for that too. That's maybe if you throw all the money, free agency, not all of it, but a ton of the money, free agency at the offensive line, and you feel good about what you have acquired there and signed, overpay or not, that's another topic for another day. They may not go Will Campbell. They could go a Mason Graham. Or they could trade back and get a Tyler Warren at tight end or whatever. So, keep an open mind with that too. And that's why this free agent period is so important and vital for the Patriots' success this upcoming season. Because it is overall, totality, a weak free agent class. But if you can get a couple of these damn offensive linemen, 2 or 3 to be exact, oh yeah, you're cooking with grease then. And then we'll see what happens come draft time. It could affect how you draft. Maybe Will Campbell's not in play.
And surprising report came out too. Actually, it's real quick. Get to Sam Darnold not getting tagged. Well, this one's interesting. Well, this is interesting. He's the best free agent quarterback out there on the market. Because think about this free agency class. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Jameis Winston, Jimmy Garoppolo, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones.
Bro.
And it goes 2 ways where that's bad for the Patriots because he could sign with a team that needs to draft a quarterback, right?
Right.
He could very well sign with the Raiders, who have a lot of cap space.
Yeah.
He can sign. He's not going to sign with the Jets. I can't believe I was about to say that.
He could go to the Giants. He could stay in New York.
He could sign with the Titans.
Sign with the Titans.
Let's start right there. We're a team at number one overall expected to take Abdul Carter, but they could be a team that last minute they go, you know what, we want Cam Ward, and then the Browns going, all right, fine, we're going to go Shedeur Sanders at 2. And that affects the draft prospect of the Patriots, because if the Titans don't sign Darnold, do the math, 2 quarterbacks go in the top 3, you're either getting a generational prospect in Travis Hunter or generational edge rusher.
That's right.
In Abdul Carter.
That's right.
Him not signing, that is just like insane to me.
You mean franchise?
Him not getting franchise, excuse me.
I told you that was coming, George. You never listen to me.
Yeah.
It's doing right by the player. It's the Vikings doing right by Sam Darnold.
They don't care about it's because they were going to give him $41 million. They didn't want to pay him $41 million if no one else took him up on it.
But I'm saying,
respectfully, they don't care about Sam Darnold.
Yes, they do.
Because they have Daniel Jones, they could do the same thing.
He stinks. But listen,
so does Sam Darnold outside of Minnesota. Outside of Minnesota.
Well, let's slow down here. I'm not even a Sam Darnold guy. Sam Darnold is better than Daniel Jones, and you know it.
He is. They have J.J. McCarthy. They have Jordan Addison. They have Jalen Naylor. They have Justin Jefferson, who I didn't even get to. T.J. Hawkinson. They have a good left tackle in Darisaw, who will be back. Now they're back to being under a cost control contract. I think they didn't tag him because they knew there would be no trade suitors out there. So they're going to go find Sam. Go find your market value.
Yeah.
Go get. And if the Titans are going to give you $40 million a year, like a Baker-esque contract, not 50, not 60, a Baker-esque contract under value, under market, but say top 20, top 15.
Sure.
Then go take it. And I think that's where the Vikings stand. I was surprised they didn't tag him because I thought he'd fetch more in trade market value. But $41 million a year, man, that's a lot.
I just can't get over this, and I have to say it out loud to believe it. I mean, George, just think about this. If I had told you 4 years ago, that Sam Darnold, Sam bleeping Darnold, would have a better open market than Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. I mean, you already think I'm nuts. You would have put me. You would have got me a straitjacket, George. Like, yo, Travis,
I already have one.
Lost.
Yeah, I already have one for you.
Bro, Sam Darnold has a better market than Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like we live in the Twilight Zone. This is why the NFL is the king. This is why football is king in our country. Like, you can go from worst to first in a division, boom, overnight with a Thanos snap, and Sam Darnold becomes a belle of the ball over Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, 2 guys who won Super Bowls. It's unreal.
Yeah. I mean, his first time being a full-time starter in almost 4 seasons.
Crazy.
35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. At one point, they went on a 9-game winning streak, and he had 21 touchdowns to 7 interceptions over that span. I mean, he finished top 10 in MVP voting. That's why the market's there. Best case scenario, I can't imagine he goes back to that media bubble, but he signs with the Giants.
I think they're in play.
Because that takes a quarterback needy team. There's no way he returns to New York.
I don't know why you say that. You just told me the Vikings didn't want to pay him money. Now when it comes to money, all of a sudden, well, he's not going to go there. What do you mean? If
he's
the Giants offer him the
He's
most?
mentally weak. He's not going to go back to New York.
Oh, you
It's
tripping.
New York City. It's different. He was with the Jets. And mentally, he broke down playing for the Jets. He cannot go back under that microscope in New York City.
Malik Neighbors helps. Brian Dable helps. A bunch of money helps. Of course he can.
Dude, he had Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell.
No, I'm saying from the Jets.
And he turned into a pumpkin.
I'm saying from the Jets.
Yes, I get it. But eventually he's going to hit that wall. Look, I was all for him. Like, he's a great backup quarterback. He goes to the Jets, so that pressure is different. They're sick and tired, man, of being, as you say, sick and tired.
What do you think? Where do you think? Raiders? What's your bet?
Let me look.
Where's he end up?
The Raiders make sense. They got $96 million in cap space. They have a lot of needs, but a high draft pick, so that can help them. I would go Raiders. Okay. Steelers even have cap space at $59 million. It's just, what is his price going to be? And then the Titans, again, $50 million in cap space. He makes sense there.
Let me ask you this. If you're a Titans fan, would you rather take a shot with – and I know this is just Abdul Carter's been talked about the most, but would you rather take a shot with a Cam Ward or Sam Darnold if you're a Titans fan?
Cam Ward.
Okay.
I think he's real deal. And you got Brian Callahan, who, of course, came over from helping Joe Burrow develop. Joe Burrow was a stud since day one, but still helped him grow and run that system.
All right.
Yeah, I just don't know what they do. But if they take a Sam Darnold, then you go Abdul Carter first overall, and then you have that pillar, that cornerstone edge rusher, and then a quarterback draft to come along.
Right.
So Devontae Adams was released by the Jets.
I saw that.
Now on the market. Interest you or no?
No.
You're gonna do like 1 year, $20 million for him.
No, this is.
There's also the reports he's interested in going to the West Coast.
This is the same. Yeah, he's a West Coast dude, right? This is the same.
South Palo Alto.
This was the same case I built for Debo. I'm just going to rinse and repeat. Like, I like Debo.
Yeah.
I'm a Debo Samuel fan.
Nice.
But he's a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
He demands so much of his quarterbacks. He's in your face. He's, why not getting the ball? He's chirping in the media. And he's not the same player he was.
Yeah.
So I don't want to deal with that when you're not even that dude anymore.
Yeah.
It's the exact same argument here. Rinse and repeat. Different player, different place, same difference.
Yeah.
I don't want Davante Adams because he's not what he used to be.
Still really good.
And he is. That's not what I said. He's not what he used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, at once upon a time in his prime,
He's top 3.
bro.
Top 2.
Right.
Not 2.
Right. So those days are gone, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's washed. I do think he's really good. But I don't want him here. I don't like the fit. He's not who he used to be. He's going to come in with his diva crap.
Yep.
I don't need that around Drake. I don't want shots on the sideline, the cutaways of Davante sitting next to Drake, looking at him or walking by him. I'm open, man. Nah, bruh. Nah. I know our wide receiving room stinks, and I get it. But you know what? They stink, so they have no leg to stand on when they go to IG and post all these cryptic messages. And by the way, that was under a coach that's no longer here. That Shaq ain't flying with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
So I don't need that. I don't need the drama. Forget it. Not interested.
T. Higgins tag, not going anywhere.
Right.
Davante Adams cut, not coming. He's going to the West Coast. Chris Godwin's the top receiver on the free agency market.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question posed to Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston, who's been covering the Patriots for forever.
Okay.
Pretty much. The guy's an institution, I think, since '98. But here is a question he was posed on WEI about A.J. Brown in New England.
Is the dream dead for A.J. Brown? I know he just won the Super Bowl, but he is the most connected to Mike Vrabel.
I love that.
I mean, it's a crazy offseason. Could that happen?
I love A.J. Brown, and I love the fact that you actually are sensible enough to go back to A.J. Brown instead of barking up the T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, both and Ayuk, who are just not going to happen. A.J. Brown is a much more reasonable get. Why would the Eagles divorce themselves from him? I don't know exactly but I think that's reasonable. I also think Davante Adams and Chris Godwin are very reasonable. When Vrabel talked last week, Jonesy, about option A, B, and C, if you're the Patriots right now, who's your option A at wide receiver? I just talked about this with Phil Perry on my pod. He said that he's making Chris Godwin his option A, putting everything into him, but you should also be sending drinks over to Davante Adams, in my estimation, because you have to pivot quick. If he goes back to Tampa, if he signs someplace else, boom, you're in on Davante Adams. And if not, meanwhile, you're also making calls to Howie Roseman about what can we send you for A.J. Brown.
Loves A.J. Brown, but he's saying it's unlikely. Because why would the Eagles sell? I agree. And if you're going to go A.J. Brown, that conversation, you know where it starts, Trav? Number 4 overall pick.
Number 4. I'm not willing to have that conversation. Are you?
Let's have it.
I'm not.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I just, it's too. Okay, so.
I also think it's unrealistic. You go.
He still has the diva stuff that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is.
I love him. You don't like him. You don't like the reading of the book. You love him as a player.
I do.
I put up with the book.
I think
I ordered the book on Amazon.
I think he has you did. I think he has the diva stuff.
Yeah.
The difference is, if you remember what I said about Davante, you're not the same guy in Debo. You're not the same guys, so I don't want the diva stuff.
Yeah.
At least with A.J. Brown. I get the diva stuff, but I get the production, okay?
Yes.
But I do until I don't. Because if I trade for him, I give up the number 4 pick, which, my God, that's steep.
Yep.
Now I got to pay him. Now I got to deal with him. Likely when that back end of that prime hits, which he may already be entering. And it's the diva stuff, and you're not on the same timeline as my young stud quarterback who's going to be entering his prime when you're likely leaving it. It's too steep. Now, Chris Godwin, I'm interested. Cooper Kupp, I'm interested.
Cheap. And you don't have to give up a draft pick.
Cheap, veteran, not pain in the arses. Super Bowls, know how to win, lead my young guys.
Yeah.
And they're not going to come in with the diva stuff. They're not going to come in like, I'm the guy. You may be paid like it, but you're going to show up to work. And what's that word you always use? Professional.
Yeah.
Like I just, some of this stuff you have to think of Drake May, and you just can't think of it from he needs a weapon. You need the right weapon. You need a system here. You need a culture here. That's what's lacking. You just can't play fantasy football with the Patriots.
Yeah.
You have to build around this kid organically.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it, is to get guys to buy into the system and to buy into the kid and to buy into Vrabel. You can't have a guy coming in here thinking it's all about me. Do you agree with that, George?
Honestly, I just stop at the conversation of number 4 overall pick.
Yeah, fair.
Because if it's not Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, I'm not moving that number 4
That's
overall
fair.
pick. And even think on the Eagles side of it. They're not going to trade A.J. Brown for the number 4 overall pick because there isn't an A.J. Brown in this draft. There isn't a Malik Neighbors or a Marvin Harrison Jr. or even a Rome Odunze, 3 guys we saw go top 10 in this past draft. And think of guys that are taken top 5 in an NFL draft at the receiving spot. Jamar Chase and Amari Cooper. Those are the 2 that come to mind as of recent.
Sure.
And one you could say is worth it. Jamar Chase definitely. Amari Cooper, you go, not really. But whatever. They were taken at that spot. So I understand that there's a Mike Vrabel connection, but you would have to give up so much if you're the Patriots. And with the number 4 pick, they need a lot of young talent. They have a lot of cap space for a reason, Trav. And I think this is the big thing, too. The cap space is exciting. What did we learn once T. Higgins was tagged? Teams that don't have a lot of cap space, it's a reason they operate that way.
Yeah.
Because when they draft well, they don't let those guys hit the market. And when they do let those guys go, they're old and they're washed up. Like Amari Cooper, now being a free agent. So I would have that. Now, if the Vikings picked up and say, hey, we got Jets. If the Bengals picked up and go, you know what? We're going to trade you Jamar Chase. We're going to figure it out. We're going to pay T. I'd go, awesome. Send him our way.
Done.
We'll pay him too.
Done.
Would not think twice.
That's right.
A.J. Brown, I love him. He's just outside of that threshold.
Also, those guys you named, Jefferson, Chase, not pain in the arses. It matters. You have a young, impressionable, really good, who we think could be great quarterback.
Yeah.
Do not give him an aging diva wide receiver. It is a recipe for disaster, and we've seen it play out time and time again.
Even think about the Titans where they were dumb enough to trade away A.J. Brown, but what they had in mind was with the first-round pick, draft Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, and in their vision, he would have been, all right, A.J. Brown reset the contract, and Treylon Burks,
That's
absolute bust, but that's what happens. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out Nesson's Daily Sports Podcast. Boston has entered the chat. When's the last time you've entered the chat? Come on in. Come enter it. We talk about all things trending sports news in Boston and around the country. Available on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Twitch, YouTube, wherever else you get your podcast. That's Boston has entered the chat. New episodes dropping every Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. All right. He's back on the show. Sean McGuire, man. You know him as S-Meezy, S-Mac of Nesson.com. Sean, you do a lot of this today? Close the franchise tag window. Open it up, get some fresh air, close the window.
Closing the window. George, I just want to apologize just off the jump. It must be tough to go from Johnny Fanta one day to Sean McGuire the next. I can't imagine that swing of emotions for you. I certainly don't live up to the king of college hoops. That's for sure.
There's a difference in excitement when I get a text back from John Fanta saying, come on, man, it's good to hear from you. And Sean McGuire going, George, what do you want from me today?
What do you want, George?
No, Sean, always love having you on. And this is a cool thing to bring you on because I give you crap about it all the time. You're a Cowboys fan. And it's gotten to the point I feel bad.
I just want to, this is, we still say all this, this is a past life.
You're no longer
Breaking
a
news.
Cowboys fan.
No, we've had this conversation off camera.
What do you root for on Sundays?
I don't root. I root for the NFL. I root for football.
Yes.
Oh, God. So you root for Roger Goodell? This is even worse.
And a decent story count on Sunday is what I root for.
Oh, God bless you, Sean McGuire. Thank you. You have seen the light, brother.
Sean McGuire, who, and I quote, said, Dak Prescott's the greatest all-encompassing franchise quarterback ever. All-encompassing.
I did say that. That was
old.
That was a few
news.
years ago, and that was about 6 months before he won Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've had a take that actually has aged as well as that one.
All right. I bring you on because you know the Cowboys and you know how they operate. Better? Mm-hmm. They agreed to a big extension with Osa Odigizua, $20 million a year, 4 years, $80 million. 58 total guaranteed, 20 million guaranteed at signing. This is a guy just like a Milton Williams, age 26, same position, very similar production. What did this deal getting done by the Cowboys, who also get this done by keeping a guy in-house, don't let him shop around. What did this say to you about the potential of the Milton Williams prospect, who the Patriots reportedly are really heavy on?
Yeah, I think it pretty much tells you the market that he'll be getting, right? I mean, it's that it was 4 years, 80 million. I know the guarantee, I think I saw two different numbers, but
59 and a
59. Okay.
No, excuse me.
56,
He had 20 million
like
at
that.
signing and then around 58 million guaranteed total.
A lot of bread.
So essentially, in that guaranteed money is only behind Chris Jones. So it's the total isn't as much as a Chris Jones deal, which was insane. But the guarantee is up there with the tops in the league, and I just think it kind of says from a Patriots perspective, that's what you need to be willing to give up in order to get someone like Milton Williams. And you just talked about the production. The numbers are like stunningly similar. Milton, 11.5 sacks, 25 tackles for loss in 67 career games. Odigizua, 13.5 sacks, 28 tackles for loss in the exact same 67 games. Milton you also need to know, Milton was competing much more for snaps than Odigizua was. It's just, Philly just has so many guys up front.
Yeah.
And so that is certainly worth noting. He only had 19 starts compared to Odigizua's 63 career starts. So I do think that, the similar production, you need to take into account the amount of snaps he was getting in comparison. But I just overall think it says, you need to be willing to pay up for this. And are the Patriots willing to do that? Should the Patriots be willing to do that? Yeah. My answer to that is yes. But before today, there was only 14 interior defenders that had, 20 million AAV. And the Patriots already have one of those guys in Christian Barmore. So that is certainly, that might be a little bit of a wrinkle. If they want to extend themselves. To the Barmore point, though, his future certainly seems a little bit more uncertain at this point than it did, certainly than it did at this point last year. But even in the last few months, I feel like some of the reports that kind of trickle out, it's not super good news, I guess, to put it kind of mildly. So do the Patriots, view that as, we don't really know what Barmore is going to look like, so we're going to go after someone like Milton Williams?
Yeah, and I think you set everything up perfect, too. And these are guys that are in the same draft class.
Yep.
Great comps put up by our producer, Ethan, that they were in the same draft. Williams was drafted 2 picks before Odigizua in 2021. What I looked at this past season's production, Osa, 50 pressures. Milton Williams, 54. Osa, 7 sacks. Milton Williams, 8 sacks. Milton Williams playing off Jalen Carter, though, who is arguably the best defensive tackle in the league right now.
Yeah.
While Osa Odigizua is playing with the banged up defensive front, Micah Parsons in and out of the lineup, and that defense all around just playing like an absolute sieve. Yeah. So what you point out, though, are the Patriots willing to pay? Here's a great bite. Here's from Cameron Wolf on the Insiders with NFL Network, what he had to say about Milton Williams hitting free agency.
One thing I did hear in Indy was defensive tackle Milton Williams from the Eagles is a guy that we can keep an eye on in New England. They have a lot of cap space, 25 years old, coming over a Super Bowl title, a good fit for their system. Maybe he's a guy on the defensive side that Mike Vrabel and their staff makes a huge splash on in a couple of weeks.
Huge splash on, $126 million in cap space. So what I always like to do, I do this a lot with Trav, so I'm going to throw this at both of you guys, all right?
Okay.
A little bit of, I'm the GM. Sean, you are Milton Williams. Trav, you're Milton Williams' agent. All right. I'm Mike Vrabel, by the way. I'm not Elliot Wolf. We'll get more into that later on how that rank works out. So if you look at Osa Odighizua's contract, he got 12th in total value for all defensive tackles, 14th in annual value of his contract, and top 10 in guaranteed. Cool. So this is what I'm going to do. Since Milton Williams just won a ring, I'm going to give you 4 years, $88 million. That's $22 million a year. I'm going to give you $59.5 fully guaranteed, and I'm also going to go with around $26 million guaranteed at signing as well. So with all of that, I'm beating Dexter Lawrence in total value in AAV, who's the same age, and I'm beating Jeffrey Simmons in total guaranteed again, who's in total value and in the same age. What do you guys make of that deal? $22 million a year.
Yeah.
$59.5 fully guaranteed.
Let me speak to my client, please. Yo, Milton, I think they shortchanging you, dog.
Trav, you have to look to your left.
No, he's sitting next to me. They know. We breaking the fourth wall. I'm talking to my client. I think you can get more, man. What you think?
I mean, if you could push for it, that's good.
We want more.
So
Next deal.
the practical that I'm giving you on that puts you just behind Dexter Lawrence. So fine, $61 million guaranteed. That is the 5th highest for all defensive tackles in the NFL.
I want the most.
$61 million. I'm not giving you that. You're not Chris Jones. You're not
Settle,
Christian
agent.
Wilkins. I'm giving you the 5th most. By the way, you're not going to be playing with Jalen Carter. Here's
Facts.
$61 million guaranteed. But that's what it has to
Christian
look like
Barmore
from
isn't
the
that
Patriots.
bad, though.
This,
He's not that bad.
no, Christian Barr. Yeah, he's not that bad. We don't know if he'll be
But
there
you
in the
don't know if he'll
summertime.
be
Good to
there.
play off of. But that $22 million a year, and at the end of the day, that's just like a weird number. I still don't know who pushes for that.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed money.
Right.
That's what T. Higgins wants. That's what Jamar Chase wants. That's why they haven't agreed to a deal yet with the Bengals, because they don't give the cash. What the Patriots have the opportunity to do right now, they have the cap space to give the big number, the big AAV, but they could go, here, fine. You know what? I'll give you the big guaranteed money. I'll give you the upfront money. I will give you $50 million guaranteed at signing, total lifetime of contract, overall guaranteed. I'm going to give you $61 million. So you get $61 million, but I'm going to give you $50 right now. You still got a lot of cap space too.
I like that one, Milton. I think we should take that one, bro. What you think?
I'm good with that one too.
Yeah! Show me the money!
But that's what it has to look like. If they're going to swing big, you're going Ronnie Stanley,
Yep.
and then from there, you're going Milton Williams. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to check out new episodes of Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Everything Patriots, everything NFL, everything Drake May, Mike Vrabel, and the number 4 overall pick. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts. Sean, I want to bring that up next. You came on, you said, here are the guys I expect to be tagged.
Yep.
T. Higgins was tagged.
Yep.
Sam Darnold not tagged. Alaric Jackson agreed to an extension, took a good left. I wanted him out as all left
Yes,
tackles
you
off the
did.
board.
That was your
so
guy.
that leaves Ronnie Stanley and Darius Slayton.
Yep.
What do you think that mean? What do you think that means for the Patriots now as they enter the window of, okay, legal tampering's about to begin?
Yeah, I mean those guys have to jump. I would say Ronnie Stanley is number 1. I'll say that he should be the top, the priority free agent for the Patriots. I'm going to go Milton Williams number 2.
Okay.
If the Patriots can't get a Ronnie Stanley, then that's where like a Cam Robinson comes in. I think because that is the most important backup plan. It has to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I guess if you were able to get Ronnie Stanley and Cam Robinson, I mean, maybe the price works out where you can get both of them, have one of them shift to the right side. Not a terrible problem to have, but I think those guys have to be atop the list. I think Chris Godwin's up there, Darius Slayton is up there, Javarius Ward's up there. George, I know you like Byron Murphy. I think that's fair as well. I did see a projection for Byron Murphy. It was $22 million for AAV, and just kind of going through and we'll put it on Spot Track again. But I was able to essentially get Javarius Ward and Mike Hilton, so the Bengals slot corner, able to get that for pretty much the same price as Byron Murphy. Which could you work that out? That would be interesting to see as well. But yeah, I think the hierarchy is kind of set at this point. I think it's Ronnie Stanley, then a little bit of a gap, then Milton Williams, then a little bit of a gap, and then the rest of those guys. But you need to address the offensive tackle and free agency.
I love that plan, actually. And that's I'm sure you heard our first segment at Smeezy where I was talking to George, and I said, look, if you go out and you get 2 tackles in free agency, I think all of a sudden Will Campbell, not to say you're not going to draft him, but certainly it sort of opens up the game a bit on draft night where you can be more apt to trade back. Maybe you don't go offensive line early in the draft. We still, are anticipating they'll address this putrid offensive line, even if you add 2 tackles in free agency.
Yeah.
But I just don't think there'll be that urgency to take a Will Campbell. You can kind of open your eyes more to other things, trading back, or someone else at number 4. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And I would say, when we talked the other day, it was I don't think I'm ready to like shut the door on Will Campbell being a tackle.
Yeah.
Just hearing from still, the experts, Jeremiah is talking about it during the combine, an hour after Will Campbell tested, and he's still saying, I think Will Campbell can be a tackle. You have Dane Brugler come out today. He releases a mock draft and has Will Campbell going 5 to the Jaguars. So he, still views Will Campbell as a tackle. So I'm not ready to shut the door on that. I do agree that you can't draft a guard at 4. In an ideal world, if you make some moves as free agency, if you add Ronnie Stanley, and then you are able to trade back to whatever it is, 6 or 8 or one of those spots.
Sure.
I think that would be a great way to address, the offensive line, because you can't put too many assets into the offensive line this offseason, at least from where I'm, from my vantage point, I guess.
Yeah, you can't put too many, but there again, it goes into that conversation. There's a reason Alaric Jackson didn't hit the market.
Yep.
Ronnie Stanley, they couldn't tag him, but the Ravens are working like hell to keep him in their room. That's where the Patriots need to step up. And if you don't draft and take advantage of what you have in front of you, then they're going to keep running into this issue where they have to overpay for the left tackle. Instead of, like, Alaric Jackson's contract surprised me. I thought it was low in every metric of payment, but when you extend guys and keep them in your building, that's when you make a good bargain on that. So, look, like, it has to go. The pecking order of the free agency, it's Ronnie Stanley 1, Milton Williams 2. And then you float a Cam Robinson. It's a Paul McCarry who's played right tackle, could play multiple positions. It's no longer Trey Smith, but there are the backup guards on the market like a Will Freeze. There's Dan Moore. There's Ken Robinson who have played tackle.
Yep.
But option 1 has to be option 1 to a point where you can't keep going, well, these were the backups. This was the backup here. No, option 1 has to be like ultimately important on that all. The Byron Murphy one I want to touch on quick. I understand where Spotrac is projecting him for. He's going to be 27. So think of a L'Jarius Sneed type contract who signed his contract when he was 27 years old, and he got $19.1 million a year. That's what we base off of. You give him $20 million a year, and that's where it can work. And I just think, again, when you model it off of, this is the guy, because this is how it goes. Here's a position, here's the age, here's a production, and here's now the market is how much we'll pay you. End of the day, it's what are you giving in the guaranteed money? It's going to be looking like a 27, a 4-year deal, probably a void 4th year. And then the guaranteed at the signing around $46 million guaranteed and just over $50 million. And you're going around $21 million a year over 4 years. So again, that gets it into, that's $84 million total value. It looks good.
Yep.
Here's $51 million fully guaranteed over the course of 3 real years. And we go from there. So the Byron Murphy, and after Mike Vrabel said it, I like guys that play in the slot and outside. It's really important in that position. That perked my ears of, I don't think it's all Charvarius Ward or bust anymore. I think it's actually looking at Byron Murphy, and maybe the backup plan, the option 2 is an okay or a good cornerback too, or maybe an Alex Austin who's already in their building.
Yeah, I don't hate that plan at all. I mean, I do think it's the versatility that a Byron Murphy would bring. Played a ton outside. Has a ton of experience in the slot as well.
Yeah.
I do think, and I wrote the same thing today. Just Vrabel's kind of comment about how important of a trend it was with these slot cornerbacks. I think that should perk your ears up. The Patriots are going to go after a nice slot cornerback, and you still have a Jonathan Jones sort of thing, and maybe you can retain him. It still sounds like the Patriots would be interested in doing that, but he's also not closing the door on going somewhere else.
Yeah. He wants money.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll kind of see how that plays out. I think the Patriots should try to keep him, just, the veteran he is in the room. But, to your point about Byron Murphy, he's one of the best cornerbacks on the market. And, the versatility that he brings, I think is, it's certainly worth paying for.
Smeezy, this just popped in my mind, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it. George and I talked about this, but there is a world in which this Sam Darnold thing, I mean, Smeezy, if Sam Darnold signs with one of these top teams at the top of the draft.
Yeah, it's not great news for the Patriots.
Well, is there a way that I can get my hands on a Travis Hunter or an Abdul Carter if he does sign with one of those teams? Do you think it could change the landscape of this draft where one of those guys maybe slide down because now those teams are not taking a quarterback? Maybe there's a shot that they don't come off of the board. Or do you think if Darnold signs with one of those teams, which it sounds like you do, the Patriots are screwed?
Yeah, I do think that. And I think that essentially I would have wanted him to stay in Minnesota. And it still sounds like, at least Ian Rappaport came out earlier today and said that the Vikings are still trying to get a long-term deal done. So it's not an absolute that he's not going to be back in Minnesota, but I certainly think it's less likely. And I think him, signing with the Giants or him, going to Vegas or, Cleveland or Tennessee, those sorts of things. it wouldn't be good for the Patriots. I mean, if he lands in Tennessee, then you know that they're not taking a Cam Ward.
Right.
Exactly.
And, so it's the same thing with the other situation. So, yeah, I do think that as minuscule, or I guess the trickle-down effect is essentially kind of what we're getting at.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's great for the Patriots.
Damn it. I'm trying, George.
But that's what it is that if they have their quarterback, they're picking 1 overall, they're going to go with the best prospect.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have the number 1 overall pick. We're still not going to be that good. Let's take Abdul Carter right now. That's
Right.
likely how they're going to think. Or they go, we have the number 1 overall pick. Yeah, we have Calvin Ridley. Our defense stinks. Let me get Travis Hunter, who looks like Garrett Wilson. And they go
Right.
from there.
Right.
And then they have Garrett, and then they have Travis Hunter under cost control for 5 years.
Yeah.
Sean, I want to end with this. When the Cowboys, and this is fully serious, when the Cowboys agree with this deal on Osa Odigizua,
Yep.
who gets a credit here? Is that Will McClay? Is that Stephen Jones working? Like, seriously. I want to give credit because that's a great deal.
Yeah.
And I want to give credit to Will McClay, who he wants to stay in Dallas, obviously. He's been there over 20 years,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he's stuck dealing with a dumbass owner.
No, Will McClay he's the guy. I would say a lot of his stuff, at least from what I read, a lot of it is he is like more draft heavy than anything else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give Jerry any credit for anything. But they did back in. They got a good deal done. I do think that's fair to say. It was.
Yeah.
And immediately the national guys came out and said, if they were to tag Osa for the next 2 years, he would have made like $10-15 more total, if they were to tag him for that. So to get the first 2 years of that deal for like $40 million, and obviously in total 4 for 80, like we mentioned earlier, I do think I think that was a great deal by Jerry and the boys.
Yeah. Well,
Jerry's-
mainly the boys.
Jerry, Steven, Jerry Jr., Charlotte.
I
Good
knew
job
it
with
was
that
coming.
contract. I just want someone in Dallas to get the credit, not named Jerry Jones. That's all
Right.
I want. Always give the credit where it's due, Sean. You always do the great job coming on. Appreciate you stopping by, my man. Trust me, I'm just as happy to see you as I am to see John Fan.
I don't believe
Don't ever
that.
tell yourself otherwise. He didn't have a lot of hope for your Huskies in this March Madness tournament, though.
That's
you can
tough.
check that out. Latest episode of Boston Center, the Chad John Fanta. You could also check out the entire Sox season on Nesson 360 with the new annual plan at an all-new reduced price of just $20 a month paid annually. And for a limited time, get 4 free tickets to Fenway with your purchase. Visit Nesson360.com to sign up today. That's Nesson360.com for a new reduced price, $20 a month paid annually. All right, Trav. Let's get into it. So you always have the question. We were shouting at each other.
Yeah.
Why is he still here? Why is Elliot Wolf still in the building?
Why keep him?
Well, let's start right here. Doug Hyde and Andrew Callahan were on Pat's Interference, the pod. They were
Okay.
breaking down all the reports that they pulled and the info they picked up from being out at the NFL Combine. Here's the first one on what it looks like in the power structure in 1, 2, and 3 for the Patriots. Check it out right here.
All right.
Prior to that, it was Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, Bill Belichick. Clear layout at the top of the organization. Last year, it was Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, crap, who's number 3? Because Gerard Mayo's not experienced enough to do it. Elliot Wolf didn't even get the EVP title until, what was that, like May or
Mid-May.
April, whatever, mid-May. So you can't throw him into the third spot. So then it's kind of like, okay, Robin Glazer's the number 3 because she is a EVP or VP or whatever she is in the organization. And she took on so much, and Elliot Wolf took on so much that Gerard Mayo didn't know, that now a lot of people that I've spoken to are relieved that now it's back to being a clear-cut, organizational structure where you've got Robert Kraft, you've got Jonathan Kraft, and then you've got Mike Vrabel as that number 3 guy.
Yes. Hallelujah. I'm catching the Patriots Holy Ghost.
I knew you'd love that. See, man, I get your back sometimes.
Oh, thank God. Again, now I'm happy. You're right. But I beg the question. Why is he still here?
Still got to show them where everything is, show them the info. It's honestly where the contract runs. Because you mentioned it. He wasn't given that new role till May. That tells you what the contract runs through. Mike, this is where the info is. Ryan Cowden, this is where the info is.
Right.
Robin, shut up, you're fired.
Right.
Get her out. It's probably RKK's move on that one. But that's how it goes. And that's where
Yeah.
it pulls through. So this is also, and that was, again, Doug Hyde on Pat's Interference. They also spoke about it where, this is a quote from them. Robin Glazer was someone whose job was to point out, do we have to spend on this and this? It became taxing on people. Not the reason she was put out. It just wasn't a great fit with the new regime. This is a more important one. It was very clear that this was someone that wanted more than she had earned. So when Mike Vrabel stepped in and said, we're doing it my way with my people, And for you, as in Robin Glazer, to kind of be an extension of ownership, someone who has more say in football in the way you shouldn't, taking advantage of a power vacuum, and that's a power vacuum of there's no one third in power.
Yeah.
She jumped into a void, and that wasn't helpful to the whole organization. So it paints a picture of, it's now Mike Vrabel, number 3. So it goes Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, then Mike Vrabel, not Robert, Jonathan, Elliott, then Vrabel, which is good to hear. And then also shows just how ridiculous and how much of a circus it was last season.
Yeah.
Where the head coach wasn't number 3. The head coach needs to be the number 3. No, but Trav, you can be a lawyer. You can be good with numbers. It doesn't mean you can run a football organization.
No doubt. I agree with you, but I think it was a different strategy.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're getting now, George, is football people running football operations.
Yeah.
What a concept. I mean, it's like obvious as it is, a lot of teams don't do that. And so the Patriots are getting back to that. Why I say I think it was a different strategy last season is because, remember, yes, everyone gets caught up in Gerard Mayo, the player, but he had no coaching experience, and he came from business.
Yeah.
Him and Robert Kraft, although bonding through football, it was also business stuff. And I think they tried to structure everything. You and I picked this apart in the offseason. Everything was structured like a kumbaya. Let's have a meeting before the other meeting about the meeting we had before the last meeting, and we'll just meet about it.
Yeah.
Bro, I get all these teams make all this money, but this ain't Fortune 500. This is football, baby.
Yeah.
I think Vrabel walks in like John Wayne, and he's like, listen, like, I'm a new sheriff in town. We're doing it the football way.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing.
Yeah. That's also one more to go back to.
All right.
There was one excerpt from the Seth Wickersham piece a couple seasons ago when Belichick was eventually fired.
Yeah.
Robin Glazer would chat with staff off to the side asking why the head coach had made certain decisions. The subtext of the conversations was that life in Gillette might be different soon. I mean, you take that basically, again, someone that took advantage of a vacuum of power.
Yeah.
Undermining Bill Belichick's influence and trying to rot the culture from within. So that's what you get. And it's basically like, why is a team lawyer walking around questioning the head coach's decisions?
That's right.
You know? And it was also everything Bill Belichick was covering up. He did so much, the Patriots were not ready for him to leave as quickly as he did.
Yes.
But also, Jonathan Kraft overestimated who he is. And underestimated just how important Bill Belichick was. You may hate him, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do a good job. And that doesn't mean he is valuable.
Right.
But Jonathan Kraft and Robin Glazer, who is basically like the extension of him, because when you read everything, it just sounds like, I think Robert Kraft isn't in the day-to-day as much as people think. Jonathan Kraft is more hands-on, but won't speak to the media, won't take any of the credit, wants a credit writing down on his notepad, giving feedback to the head coach right after, wants that credit of those reports. But when it comes to people messing up, he wants his dad to be the one that takes all the flack for that. But I just think it's Robert Kraft being less in the day-to-day, and it is Jonathan Kraft being more hands-on than people expect it to be. And Robin Glazer, he's having people like that do the dirty work for him in a way of like setting it up where he seems like the savior. Because at the end of the day, it just sounds like she was toxic and manipulative.
Yep.
And that's the last thing you want. So Mike Vrabel got in, said, you're out of here. Like, I don't care. And I think that's really important for the Patriots just to get back on track where the head coach has his hands on everything in a healthy way.
Amen.
Because just look at how big the coaching staff was. They have 3 more assistants on offense than they did last year. I think 4 more on defense than they did last year. They have, now it's Ellie Wolf and Ryan Cowden and John Stryker, and now Mike Vrabel on the personnel conversations.
Right.
So it's more people in personnel. It's more collaborative, but more just thought out and resourced. Here's another excerpt. This is what
Football
Doug Hyde had
people.
to say. Yeah. And this is on John Stryker's role and everything. You'll love this, Trev. Play right here.
Yeah, he's basically like, if you look at it, Vrabel's number 2 right now, which like, if Vrabel's the head coach, then Stryker is like essentially like the assistant GM since he is Vrabel's right-hand man. So it's a really interesting power structure to get even further down the line below Vrabel, where you have all these guys where like Elliot Wolf is the EVP of player personnel. Ryan Cowden is the VP of player personnel. Wolf is still in charge of the front office. He's probably still the boss there. But since Stretch is Vrabel's right-hand man, like his assistant, if Vrabel's like the actual GM, then yeah, Stretch would kind of be the assistant GM below him.
Getting duck hide on Pat's interference. I knew you'd love that, man.
Bro, when did you say May? Okay. Hey, thanks for the draft. See ya. Thanks, Elliot Wolf. Tell your dad we said hi. Bye-bye.
It's not even thanks for the draft. It's thanks for the keys. You made copies of everything, right? But by the way, we're changing all the locks. But I think it's important. Great job. Like Andrew Callahan, Doug Hyde always doing an amazing job.
Yes.
It's Robert Kraft 1, Jonathan Kraft 2. That's fine. That's ownership.
Yeah.
But number 3 is now Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
And right below Mike Vrabel is not Elliot Wolf.
That's right.
It sounds like it's John Stryker. Because as they've outlined too, they said in all the responsibilities he has, personnel, game strategy, game planning, day-to-day operations, he even meets with agents. Mike Vrabel's putting a lot of trust in John Stryker.
Yeah.
And John Stryker, this is pie in the sky, perfect scenario. Mike Vrabel's a head coach for a long time. John Stryker becomes the president of football operations. That's what it sounds like it can be. And that's a real structure. And then you have a GM like a Ryan Cowden or someone else.
Yeah.
This is a football team.
Yes.
This is now a football organization.
Run by football people.
It wasn't great the last 4 seasons of Belichick. Gerard Mayo was just, the day he took that job was the day he was getting fired.
Yep.
That's just what it was, and it sucks. Now it's a serious organization again. This just gives me a lot of excitement moving forward.
Yeah. There's a word, it's called
professional.
Professional and culture.
Yep.
There is a football professional culture with the Patriots.
Now when you bring in free agents, coaches, you're talking football in interviews, like, oh, this is a football team here.
Yeah.
He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. This is a football podcast.
It is a football podcast, baby. Come on.
Foxborough Rush, GB, Double T. Appreciate you guys making us a part of your day. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, wherever you get your podcast. Also watch on Nesson's YouTube page. Leave us a comment. We'll bring them on the show later this week. We promise. We also have a special for you guys. Little fun with free agency to put it. You guys can't wait to see Trav in that role. He's Double T. I'm GB. Have a good one, everyone.